You are a part of this place. The darkest dungeon.
Greetings, gamers. I'm Campos, and welcome back to my series, C Gaming Reviews, your weekly portal to the gaming worlds. Today, we're going deep and dark into the challenging world of Darkest Dungeon. As always, this review is purely my opinion, and if you face the eldritch horrors within and disagree, share your thoughts in the comments below. So grab your torches and prepare for a journey into the abyss. You're going to need it. Darkest Dungeon, developed by Red Hook Studios, emerged from the shadows in January of 2016, bringing with it a unique blend of gothic horror, strategic gameplay, and soul-crushing difficulty. Today we are going to start with the plot, which is pretty straightforward. We learn very early that we have inherited a gothic mansion from an ancestor, and well, he probably didn't read Lord of the Rings. If you dig too deep, you might find what you want to avoid.
Moria, you fear to go into those mines. The dwarves delved too greedily and too deep. You know what they awoke in the darkness of Khazad-dûm. Shadow and flame.
So he wanted to fulfill his ambitions, but by excavating the dungeons and catacombs beneath his manor, has unleashed some terrible monstrosities and released a number of horrific and evil creatures and corruptions into the world. Now, as the owner of the estate and the surrounding lands, you must recruit a roster of fragile adventurers to cleanse the estate of its vile inhabitants. In terms of gameplay, Darkest Dungeon is a turn-based, roguelike dungeon crawler that will test the limits of your sanity. Each decision is crucial, from selecting your party members to managing their stress levels and dealing with the ever-looming threat of permadeath. And if you wanted to load the save file, good luck. The game is constantly auto-saving to avoid any sort of save scam. The losses are to make count and you need to learn from your mistakes. It's a brutal and unforgiving experience, much like navigating the labyrinths of twisted nightmares. The game's mechanics are designed to keep you on the edge of your seat. This stress system adds a layer of psychological torment as your heroes succumb to fear and paranoia. The combat is a deadly dance, requiring careful planning and resource management. There is intricate synergy between classes, trinkets, and abilities demanding strategic thinking, without which we will suffer the consequences. Darkest Dungeon doesn't hold your hand. It grabs you by the collar and throws you into the abyss. The game itself is a double-edged sword, providing a sense of accomplishment when you emerge victorious but equally delivering crushing defeats. And there are going to be many. In terms of gameplay, I'm going to give Darkest Dungeon a very solid 9 out of 10. It's a masterpiece in its own twisted way, but the steep learning curve might be a turn-off for some. Now, let's shed some light on the story, but only a little bit. It's probably the darkest aspect of this adventure. Darkest Dungeon whispers a narrative of despair and horror, narrated by the haunting voice of the ancestor.
There is a great horror beneath the manor.
The tale unfolds as you delve deeper into the eldritch dungeons, discovering the twisted history of your ancestors and the malevolent forces they unleashed. The narrative serves as a driving force, urging you forward into the abyss, but it takes a backseat to the overall experience. It's a supplementary element to the whole game and adds in depth, sure, but is not something to look for. It's not for the story that you play, but rather an atmosphere that envelops you. I'd give the story a respectable 7 out of 10. Now, Darkest Dungeon impresses with its unique art style. Period. The art style, reminiscent of a macabre tapestry, perfectly captures the game's dark atmosphere. Hand-drawn characters and environments, shrouded in darkness, create a visually striking and unsettling experience. The game becomes alive on itself. Their nightmares become your nightmares. The gothic aesthetics and the grotesque designs of enemies contribute to the game's immersive atmosphere. However, there are limited animations and repeated character models, and that makes the game here and there a bit repetitive. Despite this, Darkest Dungeon earns a solid 8 out of 10 for its visually captivating design that perfectly aligns with its thematic elements. In this case, I cannot give more because unfortunately I can compare this to a game with breathtaking 3D graphics. Turning now to soundtrack and sound effects, they both deserve a special mention. I'm talking about eerie melodies and atmospheric tunes that enhance that sense of menacing and sinister environment and alerts the primate parts of our brains that something is about to happen. And not something enjoyable. The creaking of floorboards, the whispers that echo through the dungeons, and the guttural sounds of abominations create an auditory landscape that immerses you further into the macabre world. Poetry and sound in a video game. Macabre poetry, don't get me wrong, but damn, still poetry. A chilling 9 out of 10 for the audio experience. Facing now one of the biggest and hardest bosses of modern gaming industry, being AAA or indie, replayability. Darkest Dungeon thrives on its replay value. The randomness generation of the dungeons ensures that each playthrough is a unique challenge, with multiple character classes, diverse party compositions, and varying dungeon layouts. The game invites you to embrace the madness repeatedly and with different victims. However, the randomness in critical moments can be divisive, either adding to the thrill or frustrating those seeking a more predictable experience. But that is boring. Right. Despite this, Darkest Dungeon gets a very nice 8 out of 10 in replayability. Legacy and future considerations cast a shadow on the game's enduring impact. Darkest Dungeon has left a huge mark on the genre. When this game was released, was praised by many, both players and critics. I might even say that the best review of a game I've ever seen was from this game, when The Escapist magazine gave 4 out of 5. The Escapist magazine said, "Darkest Dungeon will kill your party, drive you insane, and leave you a gibbering mess at the sanitarium. Yet it's so compelling and rewarding at the same time, you won't be able to resist diving back in for one more quest." Need I add more? Darkest Dungeon is the BDSM version of a video game. You are going to enjoy your suffering, and the proof that people like and enjoyed this game a lot was the fact that in May of this year, 2023, Darkest Dungeon released a sequel, expanding this universe further. Therefore, I feel a warmth inside giving a 9 out of 10 for legacy and future potential. Not as big as other titles, but this is an indie game that made its mark and even allowed a sequel. To illuminate the positives and negatives of Darkest Dungeon. Positives: atmospheric and challenging gameplay, unique art style and thematic visuals, engaging and stressful decision-making, superb audio design, high replay value. Negatives: steep learning curve may deter some players, limited character animations. Randomness can be a double-edged sword. Pain. Suffering. Actually, add that one to both. If you play the game, you are going to get the why. So, should you venture into the depths of Darkest Dungeon? Absolutely. It's a masterclass in atmospheric, challenging gameplay that rewards strategic thinking and punishes the careless. Embrace the darkness, face the horrors, and may your torch burn bright in the abyss. Or not. This concludes my review of Darkest Dungeon. If you face the terrors within or have other games you'd like reviewed, drop your thoughts in the comments, like, subscribe, and until next time. Unlock the world of gaming, where reviews come to life.